Hello book lovers, and welcome back or welcome to Nat Cat's Bookish Cafe. Today I will be going over 5 books I think you might enjoy this winter season. Alright, so I know that winter doesn't technically start until December 21st, but for me, winter starts on December 1st. I did have some trouble kind of choosing what books I would suggest in the winter, just because unlike fall, winter isn't really a season where I gravitate towards like a certain genre or a certain trope or anything like that. So there is a little mix of a few different things in here. I did definitely lean a little bit more towards like fantasy and sci-fi, but hopefully there is something in here that you will enjoy. So the first book I wanted to talk about is a book that I read semi-recently, and that is Winter's Orbit by Everina Maxwell. This is a male-male romance. It is a sci-fi story, and it is a standalone. I know there is another book coming out in this world, but they are following 2 different stories completely. So in this book, we are following Prince Kaim. He is kind of the, I guess you could call him the disappointment grandchild of the emperor of a planet that kind of rules over the small solar system, where there are other planets that all kind of fall under the rule of this empire. The other character, Janan, I believe is his name, yep, is part of one of the newer and smaller planets in this solar system, and he's kind of like, I don't know if he's like a diplomat or exactly what he is, I have to be honest, but he was married to Kaim's cousin, and this cousin died in a fly car, what are they called? Some sort of airplane like crash, and in order to keep peace between the 2 empires, these 2 are forced into a very sudden marriage. This marriage is not only important to keep the peace between their 2 planets, but that is because someone who is part of what's called the resolution is there to make sure that all their treaties are up to date so that this empire can continue to be protected by the resolution from other larger empires. And if they feel like any sort of corruption is occurring, which it seems like it might, because Tam's death might have not been as accidental as they thought, they are definitely invested in making sure that they can protect their empire from being pretty much overthrown by these other larger empires throughout the universe. This book does have a mental health rep. Janan's previous relationship was not the healthiest, and he is overcoming the bad habits that he picked up in this relationship, where he very much was treated as a more submissive, almost second-class partner, and he's starting to see himself as more of an equal to his partner Kaim. Kaim has a lot of respect for Janan and actually feels that he is the partner in the relationship that is lacking. He's not as involved in politics, and he's not quite as intelligent as Janan, who is incredibly smart, especially when it comes to academics and finding patterns in research, which is very beneficial for them throughout this story, in which they are trying to clear Janan's name, because it seems like someone is trying to use him as a scapegoat. So while they're going around trying to solve this murder, we do see that Kaim is really great at networking. So the 2 of them are pointing out each other's strengths and also supporting each other's weaknesses, and that makes them a really strong partnership since they're kind of balancing each other. There is a scene in this book where they are in the mountains walking through the snow. And also it does take place partially in space, which is very cold, which is why I think that this would be a good book for winter. Also, it has the word winter in the title. But overall, I just really thought that they had a great, healthy relationship. And then once they really got that communication going, that things went really smoothly. I also thought that the murder mystery aspect of the story was really interesting, and I was very invested in the world building, and I'm definitely looking forward to the next book where we can learn even more about this universe and all of its competing empires. Up next, we have another sci-fi, but this one is very different. When I was thinking of this book, I was kind of thinking of like Christmas time, and the gifts you want to get, or even when you're spending time with your family, like especially when we were younger, maybe playing like Mario Kart, or me and my sister like to play the Batman Lego game on the Wii, I think it was. We're not huge gamers or anything, but this book did make me think of that, and that is Ready Player One. So this is by Ernest Cline. So this follows a young man whose name I can't think of right now, who's a big fan of taking part in the Oasis, I believe is what the kind of virtual reality in this world is called. He goes to school here, and meets with his friends there. He lives in, I think it's called the Stacks, which is a really is an area of extreme poverty. A lot of the world is living in My mom just interrupted me for a pizza order, so I don't remember what I was saying about this book. But pretty much he is spending a lot of time in the Oasis, and one day the creator of the Oasis dies, and his will is that there is to be a competition to find the 3 Easter eggs that he has hidden in the Oasis, and whoever finds these Easter eggs and breaks their riddles or whatever they are, will inherit his entire fortune. So of course, our character is on the hunt to find these along with a group of friends. I had a lot of fun with this audiobook, and I'm really glad I read it because look how tiny that text is. Oh my gosh, my eyes would have gone cross if I read this. But I did really enjoy the video game aspect of it. The 80s references didn't really do much for me. I was not alive in the 80s and don't have any love or anything for the era. But I do also wish that there was a little bit more teamwork in this book. That was my favorite part of the story. But overall, I just thought it was a very interesting topic. It was just fun watching him explore this virtual reality and solve the riddles and come across interesting characters. So I know this is a very popular book, but if you haven't read it yet, I suggest you jump on the bandwagon and check it out. All right, so the next book that I'm going to talk about is a book I'm rereading this month. In fact, by the time this video is up, I will probably have already completed my reread and will probably have even more to say on it at that point. But at this point, it's been a few years since I read it, but I do definitely think that it would make a great winter read, and that is The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. Not her related to the devil. Erin Morgenstern. And this follows 2 apprentice magicians, and they are the apprentices to 2 other magicians who are in competition, and their latest battle is having raised two magicians of their own and seeing who can raise the better magician. So the battlefield for these two is set in a circus that appears suddenly at night and then is gone again just as quickly. This book is incredibly magical. The writing is incredibly beautiful. And one of the scenes I remember the most is set in this beautiful ice garden, which is definitely very wintry. It's a slow-paced romance between the two of these, and it has kind of that childhood joy of going to the circus and just seeing things that you'll never see anywhere else, just like you see things at Christmas that you just don't see any other time of the year, since we do follow the point of view of an additional character as well. I'm very excited to be rereading this book. I know some people are hit and miss with Erin Morgenstern because the writing is so flowery and because the plot is relatively slow and not overly eventful. It's really just about sitting down and enjoying the moment and the beauty around you, which is something we all want to do around the holiday. So the next book I'll be talking about is a book I read quite a while ago, and I have yet to read book 2. It would be nice if I got to it maybe this year, but I kind of don't see that happening. But the reason I chose this for a winter rec is because it is a hockey romance. And when it comes to hockey, it's on ice, which I associate with winter, even though I'm sure that hockey is played year-round. But this book is called Him by Sarina Bowen. I'm pretty sure it is very well known. We follow two characters who were friends in their youth. They used to go to a hockey camp together, and during their last year together, they had an experience with each other that kind of caused them to drift apart. We are now years later, and they are, I think, graduating college. And one of our characters finds out that the other character has been volunteering or working as a camp counselor at this hockey camp and decides to sign up as well in hopes of rekindling their relationship. So this is a male-male romance between two hockey players. Even though the camp possibly takes place at like summer, I'm not even sure, I can't even remember. I just figured I would put on a, fluffy romance on here in case, romance is where you're most comfortable. I figure hockey romance is the way to go in the winter season. I did really enjoy their relationship. It was a lot about kind of like exploring your sexuality and admitting that this is something that you could possibly want. We also follow them as they are kind of deciding what steps they want to take next. Do they want to go on to a pro team, or would they prefer to continue coaching, things like that. So they're kind of making plans and goals for the future, which is something you start to do towards the end of the year when you get ready for those New Year Eve's goals or that you're gonna set for yourself. Overall, just a sweet, steamy novel, and I need to get to book 2 ASAP. All right, guys, and for book number 5, this one is probably the most wintry book that I have read in a long time and that I have on my shelves currently, and that is Spinning Silver by Naomi Novik. So this story follows the point of view of 3 young women, and one of the things I really loved about this story is the way that these women are portrayed. They are incredibly strong, they are incredibly driven, and very intelligent. So if you love strong female characters, this is the book for you. The first character that we follow is the daughter of a money lender in a small town, and her father is not very good at his job. He's just too nice of a guy and keeps letting people put off their payments. And one day, I think her mother maybe gets sick, but she decides to take over and starts collecting money from people. And she's so good at doing this that people start saying that she can turn silver into gold. So part of the story is slightly inspired by Rumpelstiltskin. I would say very loosely based though. The other character is the daughter of a poor drunk, and she has, I believe, 2 brothers, and her father is one of the men who owes our original character's family money. And so when he says he can't pay, she says, then your daughter will come and work for us. And she really enjoys working for this family. They have a nice home and they feed her. So she really likes this character. She thinks she's very fair in the decision that she made with how her family is to pay her back. And she is hoping to save up money along the way so that she and her brothers can escape their abusive father. The third character is a wealthy young woman who is to be married off to a prince. I can't remember if he's a prince, but he seems to have a curse, which is that he is possessed by a fire demon. Their story I felt was very much Howl's Moving Castle vibes, so I would say this story definitely has those vibes as well. If you like Howl's Moving Castle, definitely check this story out. This story is very reminiscent of, you know, your classic fairy tales. The writing is very beautiful. The elves, are they elves? What are they? I think they're called like the Stark. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right, but they are a group of beings that thrive in the cold. So every time they come through this path past our character's village, it freezes the river over, and one day their king kidnaps our money lender's daughter because his people need gold, and he forces her to become his queen. This is a romance. There are a couple romances that go on throughout the story. We see our women dealing with very cruel and broken and desperate men, and we see how they start to heal those men, and those men start to appreciate the beauty on the inside and the outside of these girls. So I really liked that aspect of it. The romances are very slow burn and they're very much in the background of the story, but they add a lot to it. I really just loved how much these women sacrificed and how hard they worked to make a better life for themselves and for their parents. We see a lot with cold weather, so it's definitely a wintry vibe. It's very magical and the writing is stunning, as I mentioned. And overall, I would just absolutely recommend this book. It's definitely going to be on one of my top books of the year list because I just had such an incredible time with it. All right, guys, there are the 5 books that I suggest you check out in these winter months that are coming up. Let me know down below what books you're looking forward to reading this winter, or if there's any books that you highly suggest someone picks up during the winter months. I'm always looking for more seasonal recommendations. But otherwise, thank you as always for supporting my channel by watching my videos, and I hope to see you next time. Bye!